I waste more time than I care to admit. I've spent countless hours watching suggested videos on YouTube or binge watching TV shows. And it's not like I intend to. I don't sit down and think to myself, I'm gonna sit here for the next 4 hours and not move as I watch pointless videos that I will forget about 1 minute after. But there I am, hours later, still in that same position, still watching videos, still wasting time. The thing about this kind of wasting time is that it's so accepted in the world today. I mean, Netflix is a global phenomenon that nearly everyone has. No one looks down on you if you spend your weekend binge watching a TV show such as The Stranger Things or The Office. In fact, to not watch the latest season of something leaves you out of the loop. So there I sit, joining the millions of other people watching Netflix or YouTube. I have to confess something though. It's that at the end of these binge watching sessions, I never feel satisfied. In fact, I always feel quite the opposite, a little disgusted with myself. Where I find myself after wasting my time for hours on end is tired, disappointed in myself, full of guilt and shame for having let so many hours pass without moving. It's not who I am, and it's not where I want to be. One of my favorite laws is Newton's first law, which is also called the law of inertia. And it says this: objects at rest or in motion tend to stay at rest or in motion unless an unbalanced force acts upon it. I think that law so accurately applies to our lives. Those people who are in motion, who are always learning, always doing something new or doing something productive, they tend to stay that way. Now that doesn't mean they don't need a rest or they don't take time off. This isn't a perfect analogy. But generally those full of motivation stay motivated. And there are the rest of us, those who tend to stay at rest because there's no outside force acting upon us. In fact, nothing is really acting upon us. We feel no sense of real motivation to do anything, but to just sit there and do nothing. I mean, don't get me wrong. We still do things. We still want to have fun with our friends. We still feel that jolt of fear as a deadline approaches. These outside forces move us for a temporary time. But soon enough, we find ourselves right where we tend to be, at rest, wasting time. Recently, however, I asked myself this question: what keeps me there? Why can't I tear myself away from the screen and do what I know I should be doing? And what I discovered was this. My answer to this question was almost always, well, there's nothing better to do. Maybe it was the end of a long week, or maybe it was the middle of a hot summer day. Whatever the reason, my answer always seemed to be, if there were better things to do, I would. I mean, if my friends weren't so busy, or if it wasn't so hot out, or if I hadn't just gone for an hour run, maybe I would do something. But this answer I knew was a lie I kept telling myself in order to indulge in laziness. You see, the problem isn't that there isn't anything better to do, because trust me, there are 100 billion thousand better things to do than stare at a screen all day. The problem is I didn't have the motivation, the will, or the purpose to do any of them, because doing things takes brain power, and brain power takes thinking. Thinking requires energy, and energy requires motivation. And not just extrinsic motivation, but intrinsic motivation. A will to do the right thing, or to do something because we enjoy it. It's not like we apathetic people don't have visions of what we want to do, or where we want to be. It's not like we don't have a desire to change our lives, but we still find ourselves wanting the real motivation and not just an end destination. So I suppose we've reached the heart of the matter. How do I go from wanting to want something to actually wanting it? Let me say that again. How do I go from wanting the motivation to do something to actually having the motivation to do it? Now, I'm still learning this, and everyone really is, but I believe I've found what appears to be the answer. And it's not some quick fix scheme. It's not some 4-step method to get it done fast. I love what John Maxwell says when he says, everything worthwhile is uphill. The answer lies in living with integrity. It lies not in being true to who you are, but true to who you want to be, in taking personal responsibility and not blaming everything on outside influences, in not living the way you want, but the way you know is right. How does this motivate you, you may ask? How does this help? It kind of seems like you're just throwing the word integrity around and hoping it'll solve all our problems. And maybe you're right, but let me explain to you what Dave Ramsey calls the snowball effect. He uses it when trying to help people get out of debt. You see, his plan is not to start with the biggest debt with the most interest and get rid of that first. His plan is to start with the smallest debt and get a win.
Now, that hope has more to do with you winning with money than math does. Because hope gives you, well, it's fuel on the fire. It gives you a reason to make changes.
His plan involves paying off the smallest loans first, and that way you gain confidence and gain momentum. It's the same way in life. We have to start with taking personal responsibility for the small things first. Did you make your bed this morning? Did you eat a healthy breakfast instead of eating junk food? Did you pass on the opportunity to buy something you wanted, but you know you couldn't afford? Taking personal responsibility in the small things leads to taking personal responsibility in the bigger things. And the momentum grows and grows and grows. And your desire to do bigger and better things grows and grows and grows. And let me tell you something. Living with integrity feels darn good. It feels so good to know that who you are is not just a facade, but what you're showing to other people really is who you are through and through. You can start living with real values, with real character. Before you know it, you'll find yourself not wanting to spend your days watching TV, not wanting to watch the latest YouTube video, and not wanting to spend your days wasting away. Because you found a better life, you've tasted something more fulfilling, and you're not ready to let that go. For all the apathetic people like me, join me on my journey of discovery, of discovering integrity, character, and personal responsibility. To stop living the life I feel disgusted by, and start living the life that satisfies. Till next time, stay holy.